Good morning, dear students. Let's start with Unit 14, Environmental Chemistry. The branch of science which deals with the chemical phenomena occurring in the environment is called environmental science. This deals with the study of origin, transport, reactions, consequences of chemical species in the environment. The contamination of any part of the environment is called pollution. And the substances which cause pollution are called pollutants. The pollutants can cause air pollution, water pollution, or soil pollution. Together it is known as environmental pollution. So we can define environmental pollution is the effect of undesirable changes in our surroundings that have harmful effects on plants, animals, and human beings. Now, the substance which cause pollution, we have already said it is called pollutant. The pollutant can be solid, liquid, or it can be a gaseous substance. It can be degradable, like discarded vegetables and fruits which are rapidly broken down by natural processes, and or it can be slowly degradable, or we can also say non-biodegradable. For example, substances like DDT, plastic material, heavy metals, many chemicals, nuclear waste. Atmospheric pollution. The gaseous envelope surrounding the earth is known as atmosphere. The atmosphere is divided into four regions: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. The lowest region of the atmosphere in which we human beings live along with other organisms is called troposphere. It extends up to a height of 10 km from the sea level. This troposphere is a turbulent, dusty zone containing air, water vapor, and clouds. It is a region of strong air movement and cloud formation. Stratosphere. This stratosphere lies above the troposphere between 10 and 50 km above the sea level. It contains nitrogen, oxygen, ozone, and little water vapor. The atmospheric pollution is studied as tropospheric pollution and stratospheric pollution. The tropospheric pollution occurs because of the presence of undesirable solid or gaseous particles in the air. The gaseous air pollutants are the oxides of sulfur, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen sulfide, hydrocarbons, ozone, and other oxidants. And the particulate pollutants involve dust, mist, fumes, smoke, and smoke. Let's discuss first about the gaseous air pollutants. We'll be discussing first about oxides of sulfur. The sulfur oxides are produced when sulfur containing fossil fuel such as coal is burnt. This sulfur dioxide is very poisonous and it can cause respiratory diseases like asthma, bronchitis. It can also cause irritation to the eyes, resulting in tears and redness. In plants also, it can cause stiffness of the flower buds, as a result of which they fall off from the plants. The conversion of sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide requires the presence of a catalyst. So the dust particle and other particulate matters, they can catalyze this oxidation reactions. This reaction can also be promoted by ozone and hydrogen peroxide. We can see sulfur dioxide combines with ozone to form sulfur trioxide and oxygen, and sulfur dioxide combines with hydrogen peroxide to form sulfuric acid. Coming to the next gaseous air pollutant, that is oxides of nitrogen. We know that dinitrogen and dioxygen are present in our atmosphere. It is 78%, it is 21%, but they do not react with each other at normal temperature. But when lightning strikes, nitrogen combines with oxygen to form nitrogen dioxide. This nitrogen dioxide is further oxidized to nitrate ions, which are washed into the soil where they serve as a fertilizer. In the automobile engines also, at very high temperature, when the fossil fuel is burned, the dinitrogen and dioxygen combine to form nitric oxide, which react with more of oxygen to form nitrogen dioxide. This nitrogen dioxide, the rate of production of this nitrogen dioxide is fast when nitric oxide reacts with ozone in the stratosphere. Now, in the traffic and congested places, you must have seen red haze, and this red haze is an irritant, and this red haze is because of the oxides of nitrogen. The high concentration of nitrogen dioxide damages the leaves of the plants and also retard the rate of photosynthesis. It is a lung irritant as well as it causes acute respiratory diseases in children. Coming to the next gaseous air pollutant, that is the hydrocarbon. This hydrocarbon is composed of carbon and hydrogen, and it is formed by the incomplete combustion of the fuel which is used in automobiles. These hydrocarbons are carcinogenic, that is, they cause cancer and they harm the plant by causing aging, breakdown of tissues, and shedding of leaves, flowers, and twigs. Coming to the next gaseous air pollutant, that is the carbon monoxide. We know that carbon monoxide is a very serious air pollutant. It is highly poisonous and it is formed as a result of incomplete combustion of carbon. This carbon monoxide binds with hemoglobin to form carboxyhemoglobin, and this is 300 times more stable than the oxygen hemoglobin complex. In blood, when the concentration of carboxyhemoglobin reaches about 3 to 4%, the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reduced, and as a result of this, the person experiences headache, weak eyesight, nervousness, and cardiovascular disorder. Carbon dioxide is another gaseous air pollutant, and it is released into the atmosphere by respiration, burning of fossil fuels, and by decomposition of limestone during the manufacture of cement. We see that calcium carbonate forms on heating, it decomposes to form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is also emitted during volcanic eruptions. This carbon dioxide is confined to the troposphere only, and it is present in the atmosphere as 0.03% by volume. When this carbon dioxide is in excess, it is removed by the green plants, and this helps in maintaining the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The green plants, they use carbon dioxide and in turn emit oxygen, thus maintaining the delicate balance. Deforestation and burning of fossil fuel increase the carbon dioxide level and thus disturb the balance in the atmosphere. When the carbon dioxide level increases, it causes global warming. Global warming and greenhouse effect. Let me first explain what is a greenhouse. Greenhouse is a glass covered area, and in this glass covered area, flowers, vegetable and fruits are grown in cold places. Now, in this greenhouse, the solar radiations, they pass through the transparent glass and they heat up the soil and the plants. The warm soil and plants in turn emit infrared radiations. As glass is opaque to infrared radiations, so it partly reflects and partly absorbs these radiations. This mechanism keeps the energy of the sun trapped in the greenhouse. Now, we humans also live in a greenhouse, but this greenhouse is not surrounded by glass, but a blanket of air called the atmosphere. The atmosphere traps the sun's heat near the Earth's surface and keeps it warm. This is called a natural greenhouse effect because it maintains the temperature and makes the Earth perfect for life. Now, there are certain gases like carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, chlorofluorocarbon, and water vapor. These gases are known as greenhouse gases, and they are responsible for global warming because they trap the heat of the sun. So carbon dioxide is the major contributor to global warming, and as a result of this global warming, the polar ice caps will start melting and they will start flooding the low-lying areas all over the earth. The increase in global temperature will increase the incidence of infectious diseases like dengue, malaria, yellow fever, and sleeping sickness. Acid rain. The fossil fuel contains compound of sulfur and nitrogen in addition to carbon. The combustion of fuels contribute to atmospheric pollution. The burning of fossil fuels give carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide dissolves in water to form weak acid called carbonic acid. The rainwater normally has a pH of 5.6 due to the formation of hydrogen ions from the reaction of rainwater with carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. When the pH of the rainwater falls below 5.6, the rainwater is called acid rain. The acid rain means the way in which acid from the atmosphere is deposited on the Earth's surface. It can be in the form of acid rain or acid snow, acid fog, or it can be a dry deposition. Now, the carbon dioxide is not a major component of acid rain because it is not soluble in water like the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen. The oxides of nitrogen and sulfur undergo many photochemical reactions in the atmosphere to form nitric acid and sulfuric acid. During rains, these acids fall to the earth. With rain, the polluted rain is called acid rain. The harmful effects of acid rain. The acid rain is harmful for agriculture, trees, and plants as it dissolves and washes away the nutrients needed for their growth. Therefore, it damages leaves of trees and plants and retards the growth of forest. It also causes respiratory ailments in human beings and animals. Then when acid rain falls and flows as groundwater to reach rivers, lakes, it affects plants and animals in the aquatic ecosystem. The acid rain has caused elimination of life from some freshwater lakes by destroying the living bodies. Then acid rain corrodes the water pipe, resulting in the leaching of heavy metals such as iron, lead, and copper into the drinking water. The acid rain has caused extensive damage to buildings and sculptural materials of marble, limestone, slate. So the Taj Mahal in India has also been affected by acid rain. Now the methods to reduce the formation of acid rain. The acid rain is due to the emission of oxides of nitrogen and sulfur in the atmosphere. To reduce the formation of acid rain, the emission of these gases has to be controlled. For this, the following steps can be taken. Number 1, we should use less vehicles driven by fossil fuels. Second, using fossil fuels having less sulfur content in the power plants and industry. For example, natural gas should be used than coal, or coal containing lesser sulfur content can be used. Then, by using catalytic converters in cars so that exhaust gases are converted into nitrogen. These catalytic converters, the main component of these catalytic converter is a ceramic honeycomb coated with precious metals, palladium, platinum and rhodium. The exhaust gases containing the unburned fuel like carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides, when they pass through the converter, they are converted into carbon dioxide and nitrogen, which do not cause damage to the atmosphere. Also, the using of powdered limestone to neutralize the acidity of the soil. Now, a project has been started by the government, which is the Taj Trapezium Plan. In this plan, the area that includes the towns of Agra, Firozabad, Mathura and Bharatpur, these come under Taj Trapezium. Under this plan, more than 2,000 polluting industries which are lying inside this trapezium, they would switch over to the use of natural gas or LPG gas instead of coal or oil. Particulate pollutants are minute solid particles or liquid droplets in air. They are not visible to the naked eye. They can be viable or non-viable. The viable particulates are bacteria, fungi, molds, algae. And the non-viable particulates are the smoke particulates, the dust, the mist and the fumes. The smoke particulates consist of solid or mixture of solid and liquid particles which are formed during the combustion of organic matter. Example, cigarette smoke, smoke from burning of fossil fuel, garbage and dry leaves. Dust. The dust is composed of fine solid particles which are suspended in air. These particles enter the atmosphere from natural, domestic and industrial sources. They enter the atmosphere by volcanic eruptions, blowing of dust by wind, mining operations, crushing and grinding. The mists. The mists are suspensions of liquid particles in air which arise because of chemical reactions and condensation of vapors in air. Mists are produced by the particles of spray liquids. The common examples are portions of herbicides and insecticides which miss their targets and they travel through the air to form the mists. Similarly, sulfuric acid mist is produced when sulfur trioxide present in the atmosphere comes in contact with the moisture. Then we have the fumes. The fumes are condensed vapors. They are produced by the condensation of vapors during sublimation, distillation, boiling and several other chemical reactions. The effect of particulate pollutants depend on the particle size. For example, particulate pollutant bigger than 5 microns are likely to enter the nasal passage, whereas particles of about 1 micron enters into the lungs very easily. Lead. Lead was a major air pollutant emitted by vehicles. So when leaded petrol was used, then there was lot of lead emission in the Indian cities. But this problem has now been overcome by using unleaded petrol. Lead interferes with the development and maturation of red blood cells. Smog. The word smog is derived from smoke and fog. This is the most common example of air pollution that occurs in many cities throughout the world. There are two types of smog, classical smog and photochemical smog. The classical smog occurs in cool, humid climate. It is a mixture of smoke, fog and sulfur dioxide. As sulfur dioxide is present, so it is also called as a reducing smog. Photochemical smog occurs in warm, dry and sunny climate. The main components of the photochemical smog result from the action of sunlight on unsaturated hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides produced by automobiles and factories. Let's see the difference between the two kinds of smog. This is very important, generally comes in the paper. So classical smog. This is formed due to the built-up of sulfur oxides and particulate matter from fuel combustion. Photochemical smog is due to photochemical reaction of sunlight on the nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons produced by automobiles and factories. It involves smoke and fog. It does not involve any smoke or fog. It occurs in cool, humid climate. It occurs in warm, dry and sunny climate, that is in summer. This type of smog was first observed in London, so it is also called London smog. And this type of smog was first discovered in Los Angeles in 1950. This classical smog has high concentration of sulfur dioxide and so it is reducing in character. It has high concentration of oxidizing agents and so it is oxidizing in character. Classical smog causes bronchitis and irritations, that is the problems in lungs, and photochemical smog causes irritations in eyes. Let's discuss the formation of photochemical smog. When the fossil fuels are burnt, a variety of pollutants are emitted into the Earth's troposphere. Two of the pollutants that are emitted are unburnt hydrocarbons and nitric oxide. The chemistry of formation of photochemical smog centers around nitric oxide. The formation of photochemical smog can be understood by the following steps. During the early morning, before the sunrise, the automobile exhaust emits carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon and oxides of nitrogen. The nitric oxide reacts with oxygen to form nitrogen dioxide. As the sun rises, the ultraviolet and visible radiations, they fall on the earth. The nitrogen dioxide absorbs energy from the sunlight and break up into nitric oxide and free reactive oxygen atoms. Some of these reactive oxygen atoms combine with oxygen to form ozone. This ozone reacts with nitric oxide to form nitrogen dioxide and thus it is regenerated. This nitrogen dioxide is a brown gas and at sufficiently high levels contribute to haze. The ozone is a toxic gas and both nitrogen dioxide and ozone, they are strong oxidizing agents and they react with unburnt hydrocarbons in the polluted air to produce chemicals such as formaldehyde, acrolein and peroxyacetyl nitrate. Effects of photochemical smog. The common components of photochemical smog are ozone, nitric oxide, acrolein, formaldehyde and peroxyacetyl nitrate. Both ozone and peroxyacetyl nitrate, they are powerful eye irritants. The ozone and nitric oxide, they irritate nose, throat and their high concentration causes headache, chest pain, dryness of the throat, cough and difficulty in breathing. Photochemical smog also leads to cracking of rubber and extensive damage to plant life. It also causes corrosion of metal stones, building materials, rubber and painted surfaces. How can photochemical smog be controlled? Efforts are being continuously made to control or reduce the formation of photochemical smog. This can be done by controlling the primary precursor of photochemical smog such as nitrogen dioxide and hydrocarbon and the secondary precursor of smog such as ozone and peroxyacetyl nitrate. For this, Efficient catalytic converters are designed and installed in the automobiles to reduce photochemical smog and also prevent the release of nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons to the atmosphere. Certain plants such as Pinus, Juniperus, Quercus, Pyrus and Vitis, they metabolize the nitrogen dioxide, and therefore plantation of these plants could help to reduce the photochemical smog.